Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 44, I think, of the Anatomy podcast. It is currently 5:32 p.m. for me over in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. It is a nice and cold day after yesterday, which I would actually consider spring summer temperatures, which was very, very intimidating, being that it's still only February. But this is the Anatomy Podcast. I am Sean Cross, and tonight we are hosting Taylor. And I don't know how I just spaced this name off again. Hold on, sorry. Taylor and Brent of Shiva. Christ.
Yo,
What's going on?
It's going pretty well. That's one way to put it. But tonight, after quite a bit of time of us trying to figure out a session, well, here we are. And tonight we are going to be talking with both of these gentlemen about everything relevant to them that got them on the path to joining and contributing to Shiva. This is a band which the album I checked out pretty recently here, even though it released last July. It took me a bit, but I finally attended to it, and I am so glad that I did because, well, here we are. So we will be lyrically dissecting that album tonight, with the help of these two gentlemen, as well as learning their story. But right off the bat, whoever wants to start first, basically just give us a quick elementary summary as far as your essential background. So this is not even talking about you as a musician, but just like we're wanting to learn as much about you as possible. So whoever wants to may take it away.
so I'm Taylor, and I suppose outside of the band, I'm just sort of your normal everyday dude working at a meat factory, so smashing up some corpses and stuff.
Pretty heavy metal.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm a butcher by trade as well, so always just been cutting meat my whole life and love it. So when I saw the cover of To the Graves album, I was fucking stoked.
Right? Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, other than that, I got two kids, so
Awesome.
that's all fun games. And yeah, pretty normal. Other than that, yeah.
Cool. Brent?
Yeah, not much different to Taylor, really. Just everyday dude that enjoys music and work at a battery shop, which is what it is. And yeah,
Awesome.
Other than that, nothing really interesting.
Right. I mean, that's completely okay, because therefore, with the story of Shiva and you guys' paths, your journeys getting into music and all that, which we will be learning here in just a second. I mean, there's plenty of material to talk with that. But I mean, either way, you guys are both, I'm sure you're pretty established in your job areas, your careers, and you're just doing your best while you're also working on what you're trying to make, which is the nastiest, heaviest music in Australia, whilst also being marketable. So that's always a good thing to aim for. So whoever wants to begin then with basically like where you grew up, what, if you had any hobbies as a kid that you thought you might have pursued later, but then you're like, nah, music's my thing, that type of stuff. We're trying to learn as much as possible, possibly even bring up and just resonate, just like, I don't even know, summon some nostalgia for the both of you, as we dig as much as possible, whilst also not intruding upon your personal life, of course. Whoever wants to may begin. Just tell us your whole story that you feel is relevant to talk about on a podcast.
I suppose I'll go first. So grew up in a small country town, very small. I think there's only probably 3,000 people there, and basically all we had to do was ride skateboards. So I think riding skateboards and sustaining some pretty serious injuries like knee reconstructions, broken arms. So I think going down the skateboarding road, you can only do it for so long until your body just can't do it anymore.
Right.
So ended up bailing on that. But I think with the skating, us and all the boys all listened to heavy music, Slipknot, and I think that's what sort of kicked it off. But I think from a very young age, I sort of knew that I was like into heavy music. You kind of know when you're real young, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would like listen to, when I was a little baby, like Dad would put Lenny Kravitz on or something like that, and I'd be banging my head around and And then I watched the videos. There's like an R-rated section where they talk about the ratings of the movie, and there was actually a part that had Rammstein playing, and I just used to put the video on rewind and just kept playing that one bit just so I could listen to some heavy music when I was like 10. And yeah, from there it just exploded. I met this dude when we were pretty young. I think he was like 15, Brent?
Yeah, 14, 15.
14, 15. We started another band called Ascendants. We were a band for about 10 years. I was a drummer. He was a bassist.
Oh, shit.
And yeah, that band actually went pretty good. Like, we were playing heaps of shows. We had like 2 albums. And then just shit happens, man, and everybody sort of went their own separate way. And then after that, we started working on some Shiva stuff, and me and this dude hooked back up again and kicked off the Shiva thing, and it's going pretty well. I think it's going better than the first band, so...
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, especially if it's reaching around the world the way it has. Like, you know, you guys might not be, you know, Parkway Drive or Thy Art Is Murder, but you're definitely making your spot in the scene, in the country of music. You know, like you're establishing yourself as a pretty well-known Australian band. And I mean, you guys got Reality Fade Records behind you to do all your merch distribution and just like endorsement in general. So I mean, that's a pretty good way to get started, if not continued in a way. So if anything, Taylor, I would love to ask you, like, what was the how did you end up getting into vocals, man?
This is a funny one. So I was like playing around with the Shiva thing, writing music and stuff, just sort of writing music on my computer, and went through a couple of vocalists, and then sort of found out that it was just too hard and people were unreliable, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it myself. And then so I started doing it. It was, you know, rough to begin with. I've still got heaps to learn, but, you know, I think I became capable at least. And, yeah, kicked it off doing that, so...
Badass, dude. And do you have like any major vocalists that you kind of always utilize for practice or utilize to hone your own style? Or did you kind of like say like, fuck all that, you know, I'll listen to it every now and then, but really I'll just flesh it out on my own in my car or something like that? Like, how did you end up practicing to hone your style, your spectrum of vocals?
I think... So mostly there's 2 bands that I listen to and just used to like try and scream like them. And the first one was Whitechapel, like the older stuff, just because it was like so brutal. And then the other one is Aversion's Crown, their original like first album, Servitude, I think it's called, like that, just really low. And I just used to sing along to that, scream along to that, and then sort of just after that work through my own sound, and then sort of I'm discovering like new little things that I'm throwing into the newer songs that aren't released yet that are like pretty spicy. So
fuck yeah, dude. I cannot wait to hear them whenever they do end up coming out in the future. In future me, enjoy, man. That'll be really sick. And I digress because I have not even ended up listening to Armageddon, the new just absolutely iconic track by these boys featuring Tom Barber and another individual who ended up winning a vocal entry contest for the song. Like, shout out to him, man. Like, that's a huge opportunity to be able to participate in a song with this band and Tom Barber, bro. Like, no matter who you are, bro, you know who the fuck Tom Barber is if you know what heavy music is. And that's really the all that matters. So you did mention, Taylor, that you were actually like drumming in the beginning and stuff like that. So how did that end up like kind of fizzling out? Because I'm sure you love doing the chops, bro. I would love to smack shit for a living too.
Before we move on to that, I just quickly want to correct you on one thing. It was actually a girl that won the competition.
Oh, right. I did say individual.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I thought you said the guy. Oh, good. No good. But yeah, it was Jessie from what's that band she's got? Torm, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, she did a great job, man. Honestly, like her take was insane. So
badass.
Really,
if anything, I usually do say guy for everybody, or I say dude for everybody, but I'm pretty sure I said individual. So just to like fact check myself.
No, all good. But yeah, to the drumming thing, like I still play the drums. Like I've got an electric kit here, that I play, you can see the drums in the background there.
Right.
But I don't usually play the acoustic ones very often, but no, I still play them, just not in a band.
Okay.
So, yeah, still playing right.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. And let's see. Trying to think here. Because it's been a long day. How has the reception for Armageddon been so far? Like, have you guys been getting pretty good ratings for that?
It seems to be going pretty good. The YouTube channel that we put it on's got like 50,000 views, which is like a pretty big thing for us. Like we haven't had any video go anywhere near that.
Right.
So I think it's really exciting for us. All the comments and everything are like insane, and I think everybody's happy with Armageddon. So our first album, we were like really, really heavy, and then we're like, oh, we kind of want to blend it with something a bit. And then the second album, it's not as heavy, and we kind of blended in those choruses.
Yes.
And what we've discovered is our sound that we're actually going for now is like extremely heavy verses, like insanely heavy, and then like those catchy sort of choruses.
Yes.
So it is a bit of a shock to the system. I think we had a YouTube channel do a rating. What's his name, Brent? Orion.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, and I think it was like watching back on his reaction, it was a bit of a shock to the system for him because it was like so heavy, and then it's like, whoa. So when you do have listened to it, brother, have a listen and let us know what you think. And
absolutely, man, you can count on it, because if nothing else, dude, every morning before work, it's like the best way to start the day seems to just be with absolutely surprising music, whether it be heavy, clean, or like heavy, pretty, and everything in between. You know, that's just what we do over on Sean Cross. So that's always something to look forward to, and I cannot wait to hear it. So as we've learned quite a bit about Taylor in the little time that that we have provided him to tell his story, he's gotten like a lot of stuff covered. So, and I mean, props to you, man. You ran that pretty efficiently. So I think one thing that we will do before we go ahead and move on to Brent is, Taylor, I want you to name me either 5 artists, albums, or songs of all time that you would say really helped contribute to what Shiva is today.
Okay. So the first one is definitely A Virgin's Crown Servitude, just that album, because that was like, I just used to listen to that 24/7, and I really think that sort of shaped the sound a little bit. Like, another one's probably Whitechapel, their first album.
Right.
Just because of like how heavy it is and how sort of it's just sort of grimy. I'm not sure if grimy is the word, but it's like very dirty and grimy, and like so that's
it's fucking filthy, dude.
yeah, man. Another one that sort of like really sort of kicked it off for us too was Distant.
Oh shit.
Like when I first heard Distant, man, I was actually like mind blown. I was like, these guys sound insane, and you know, so I think that shaped a little bit as well.
Got 2 more.
2 more.
Pressure.
Pressure. It is pressure. I don't know. Maybe like for the chorus side of things, I'm thinking like maybe a little bit of Linkin Park.
Oh shit.
Like their Hybrid Theory album, probably.
Badass.
It's sort of like the only kind of thing that I can sort of relate to is in like for the choruses.
Yes. Have you had an opportunity to listen to Lost yet?
No.
Oh shit. Yeah, definitely listen to it. It's
is that their new one that was like
unreleased?
Oh yeah, I have listened to that actually.
Good. What'd you think of it?
You could tell it was definitely from that era.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. I don't think it was like fantastic. I felt like it was more of a song that sort of got scrapped off the album. But and they sort of just had it sitting there. But it is good.
Good. Awesome. And you got one more. The pressure is on, dude.
Maybe for me anyway, probably Rammstein Mutter.
Really?
Yeah. They've got like that really basic, like for their choruses, they have that really basic sound, but it just hits so hard. So more of the heavier tracks, you might hear a little bit of that sort of translate through the Shiva choruses a bit, maybe.
Right.
The doing stuff, yeah.
Sweet. Awesome. And I definitely want to provide a quick shout out to Distant with their new album that just came out not too long ago, that being Heritage, man. They are making moves, signing to Century Media. And I mean, just in general, I said thank you to the team that provided me the opportunity to listen to the album early, but I'm also very excited to be seeing them on March 5th when they come through Nashville. So shout out to the boys. Cannot wait to see you guys. And hopefully we can get a live in-person session with at least some of the members of the band. That would be really cool. So that being said, Taylor has provided his story, everything that he feels relevant, and that's all we could ever want for here on the Anatomy Podcast, being that we're basically trying to turn this podcast into a band glossary, right? An encyclopedia that way. For all the questions you guys would want to ask in person, you get them answered here, more or less. And if you have more questions, then, definitely provide them in the feed of this podcast episode, please and thank you. So, Brent, now the spotlight is on you, man. Basically, yeah, let us know where you where you grew up, where you were raised. Let us know the role that you play in the band, and basically everything that you feel is relevant to you becoming a musician and joining this project. Please and thank you.
Yeah. So very similar to Taylor, I lived in a fairly small town, a little bit bigger than where Taylor grew up. I think there's about 40,000 people here. The same thing, got into skating and sort of just my cousin got me into listening to heavy music, so I was just skating and heavy music. Met Taylor through working at Coles. That was good fun. And then ended up in that first band and did those couple of albums, which is good. And same thing. I still skate every now and then, but I'm getting too old.
You're getting older, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Knees don't work the way they used to. So, but yeah, and then same thing. Taylor sent me some music he was working on, and I was like, "This is really fucking cool." He sent me Distant, and we figured out that the bloke that was producing that, we could get him to mix that first album, and we got him to do that, and that's pretty much where I went from there.
Cool, badass. And for those listening who might not be too familiar with Shiva, what role do you play in the band, sir?
Bass.
Okay, sweet. Yeah. Bass is talking with bassist, bro. Even though I'm not a regularly like fashion bassist, I'm definitely aiming to be that. Because bass is just so fun, dude. It's so fun.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's see. What ended up getting you into bass guitar, playing bass?
I was just the friend that always hung around, and apparently people need bassists, and it's pretty easy to hit open.
Okay. Yeah, it's a pretty quick summary. I like it. Nice, short and sweet.
Yeah, but like you said, it's a lot of fun. You get on stage and you can throw yourself around and just have a good time.
Badass. Let's see. Speaking for bassists and just bass playing, like, was there ever a point where you were like wanting to do guitar, but people were like, "Yeah, we kind of need a bassist though," and you're like, "Fine, fuck it."
No, I've always just been a bass player, and it's only because people need bass players.
Which they do. It's an important part. You need the thump. You need like the bass guitar, at least for the bass drop. Like, come on, dude, just like you just have to go down the fretboard, dude. That's all you have to do. You're like chug. It's great.
Spot on.
Yeah. Do you have any bassists that you kind of like look up to as far as when you're writing? Do you have any bands or albums you go to for writing?
Not really, no.
Not really? Okay, interesting.
Really.
So you just like pluck it straight from the noodle?
Yeah.
Badass, dude. No, that's actually really cool. All right. Yeah. Let's see. So Taylor has kind of let's see. Okay. Did you like have any you said you were into skateboarding and shit. and you do battery, right, as a job.
Yeah.
Battery. What is battery? Is it? I'm afraid I'm Wonder Bread White over here, so you're gonna have to let me know what this is.
No, just car batteries.
Oh,
Changing
battery. Jesus.
Yeah.
Aussie accent, man. It's just shit.
Yeah.
See, you had me thinking like batch, like a batch of something. So like, what the fuck is a factory? Is it like similar to a factory or something? Okay, so battery. Jesus.
Yes.
How long have you been doing that, man?
Like 2 years.
2
maybe.
years. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
it's very, very crazy job. So,
Sweet. Badass.
not complaining.
Do you have anything bigger that you're looking to do as far as that same type of like business area, or are you just like, yeah, I'm just gonna change batteries?
Yeah, just gonna change batteries and work on music.
Right, there you go. Sick. All right. Let's see. So yeah, in that case, we kind of sped run through that as well. It's kind of crazy how quick these podcast sessions are getting after like the 4-hour episode with Awaken Providence. But if anything, Brent, if you could provide me 5 albums, 5 artists, or maybe even like 5 people that were just like they helped you wanting to become a bassist or wanting to join this project, other than Taylor, that doesn't count. Because we already know, we've established that lore. So like, are there like any other people in your life that have like been profoundly supportive of you wanting to be in a band as well as doing this other stuff? Like what comes to mind when it comes to, yeah, this is like why I'm in Shiva. This is why I, on the bass guitar for Shiva. Like, what's up?
It's a really hard question, but it is it's kind of I don't know, I guess we're all just like brothers and just love hanging out, so it's a good way to just keep that going, keep that friendship going.
What's I guess this is a question that both of you boys can answer. What's like the most important part about being in Shiva? Like what's the most let's see, what has been like the bottom line, like minimum requirement when it comes to like being in this band, being in this project, and just working with everybody the way you do? Like obviously there have probably been fallouts or something like that across the time, or if there hasn't, then boom, bada bang, I'm corrected. But like what is like the most important part about being in Shiva?
That's another hard question.
He's got all the good ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think consistency is one of the big things. We just keep pushing forwards regardless of any sort of setbacks. Mainly just because we love doing it. Like with everything, you're gonna have setbacks and things aren't gonna always go your way.
Yes.
But being able to overcome that is always good.
Badass. Taylor, do you have an answer for that?
I think one thing that's really important is don't get stuck on the little things. We noticed we had a couple of other members in before that ended up leaving the band because we sort of got in this situation where everyone was getting caught up on the little things and it was stopping the band from moving forward. And we kind of had to set out some
boundaries.
Expectations really.
Right.
Like the band's moving at this speed and we can't slow it down for someone if they're having issues or they want to keep like bringing up something that's small and going to hold the band back. We sort of say, well, look, we're moving at this pace. If you can't keep up with us, please just tell us now and we can work something out. Because it does move quick. Like I think when we first wrote the first album and got that out, it just went bang. And we were like, fuck, this is really moving. So we just don't want to get off that train, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. It's just like when you guys were skateboarding when you were younger, and you got to be careful for like, even for whatever reason, because this is how skateboards are made, the smallest fucking pebble ever. Like if you hit that wrong pebble, dude, you're done. done. And then the momentum, everything gets shaky. You speed wobble down like the wrong street and you're going already 45 miles per hour. And then like buddies that I've known before, you come to school looking like a mummy because you like got such bad road rash and shit. And like it's crazy. It's crazy being a skateboarder, dude. And I send my respect to anybody who's presently like making money off of that because of all those times that they had to like mummy up per se. But yeah, absolutely, just like that momentum, you got to sustain that, you got to keep that thriving. Let's see, I think actually that would be, being that we've asked Taylor and Brent about their stories, everything that they feel is relevant to Shiva. We will be right back for a quick ad break. And we are back. I forgot what fucking episode number we're on now. I think it's like
44? 44?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 44 now. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys. You're helping me keep track of my own shit. So episode 44, the big 4-4 or something. We have Taylor and Brent here from Shiva, a pretty badass Australian deathcore band, but also with, modernized elements in it. And they seem to be doing that really well. They're making a name for themselves down under. I guess that was probably the cringiest thing I've said on the podcast, but it's true. So, being in a country, man, that's like so far around the world, apparently from the West, that you guys are a day ahead of me. Like, what the fuck? It's still I'm still trying to wrap it around my brain, dude. Like, first episode we did To the Grave, really. And we had two of the former members, really. But still, like, I remember getting that figured out and just like, yeah, they're a day ahead of me. It's already Sunday for them. It's only Saturday for me. What the fuck is going on here? Like, who decided these things, dude? And I think while we're talking about Australia, right? I think one thing I would want to inquire upon with you gentlemen is like pros and cons to you guys when it comes to everything Australia, like whether the culture, the economy, that type of stuff. Like, we're curious over here in the States. Most of us are Wonder Bread white. If not, we're MAGA evangelical Christians or some shit. There's so many different cultures and peoples over here. But at the end of the day, it's like we don't really, for those who aren't able to travel or something, or for those who simply do not care, you don't really go outside of your comfort zone and be like, I wonder what's going on in these other parts of the world. So like, I don't know, man, like what has been you guys' most and least favorite aspects of growing up and living in Australia?
I reckon it's like pretty good because it's pretty laid back, like especially when you like where I lived in a small country town. You literally walk down the street and you're like, hey, mate, how you going? Yeah, mate, how you going, mate? Yeah, mate. Everyone's like saying hello to each other and singing Kumbaya around campfires and shit. So, like, it's really, really good culture, I think. One thing that does suck is, like, I think our currency's a bit shit. So, like, the exchange rate for us, like, when it goes to USD, I'm like, I'm fucked now. Or, like, even Euro right now, it was, like, insane when they're paying for stuff, like whether it be, anything to do with anything with the band overseas, we're paying for stuff. We're just getting slaughtered because our country's just shit. But if you're an American, you come to Australia, you're gonna have heaps of money, so it's good for you.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. Like, it's exclusive to the UK, really, that our money is less valuable. Over there, like it's I would say like a quarter of a dollar more, so like 25 cents here is gonna be 50 cents over there or some shit. That's not the exact math, so please everybody don't be like, oh, you're wrong or whatever. I know I'm not an economist, bro. That's not my thing. I'm a freaking Neanderthal heavy metal caveman, okay? I happen to do a podcast. I happen to share my thoughts and opinions, but yeah, like UK seems to be the only thing exclusive to that idea, and otherwise it's like, even, you know what, I think Canada is that way too. I can't quote that, but I work with folks from Toronto, that being Alex Savigny of Alex Savigny Audio, and I'll tell you, bro, the commissions, like when I send money over to him, it is a little bit more. So yeah, Canada, UK, their money's worth more than ours, but yeah, like Japan, I know that's a thing. Like you go over there with half a grand in US dollars. I know it's a lot more than that. Mexico, that's another example. So just like the economy, man, it's so strange how that works. Like the value of money. And at the end of the day, money doesn't exist. Like it's not it doesn't actually matter at the end of the day. If you go off grid far enough, it's like, you know what? My currency is fucking acorns. Get over it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. So I don't know, like Brent, what are your pros and cons for being Australian, I guess, or just growing up and living in Australia? Like what are some things you think are kind of deep fried, and what are some things you think are cooked just right?
I don't know. I love deep fried food, so it sounds like you're telling me we need two positives there. But anyway, I really don't know. Hey, it's hard because I haven't really experienced anything outside of Australia. So I've just lived this my entire life. The weather can be fucking shit because it'll be 45 degrees 1 minute and then bloody hailing the next.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's kind of a shit thing.
Are you more of a warm weather or cold weather guy?
I fucking hate both of them.
He says no weather at all. The sun and the ocean can fuck off.
Yeah.
He says, I want to be in lukewarm for the rest of my life, okay? Like, don't fucking...
100%.
You just want to crawl back up in the womb, man. Just go back inside mummy.
Sure, why not?
If I can fit, he says. No, I'm kidding. So, as we're kind of diving into the second half of the podcast, now really, I kind of want to ask the kind of annoying questions about the band. I mean, I've already asked a couple, but I think one would be, to start off, how is the name Shiva figured out?
Basically, this is going to sound heaps simple, but I suppose they all are, aren't they, really?
Yeah.
So it's like that, the god of destruction?
Yes.
Like Shiva god? I think it's maybe Indian or something, I'm not sure. Not that we're religious, but
right.
It's like the god of destruction, and we're like heavy metal destruction. So like, yeah.
Hey, it works, man. Okay, so after the god of destruction, I'll have to look that up actually. What pantheon is Shiva? Because I love the logo. It's simple, but it's effective. So I'm like, huh. And I absolutely. I thought because your group is called Cyan Core, and I was invited to that recently, which I think is badass. I'm like, is Shiva a Dragon Ball character? Because I'm an anime guy, but I've never watched Dragon Ball. So I'm like, wait a minute. Let's see.
That would be sick though if there was a Dragon Ball character. But
right?
You need to watch Dragon Ball Z, bro. If you like anime and you haven't watched that, you gotta go watch it.
So I will say that I have definitely dove into the pool of shonens and stuff. I've dipped my I almost said dip my pose. I'm like, what the fuck are pose? I've dipped my toes in the lukewarm waters, as Brent would prefer it.
Score.
Of shonen animes, and I've so far done One Piece and Bleach. Dragon Ball has been like the only intimidating one to me, just because it's like so dramatic and so over the top, and just like 9,000 and all that. But I digress. I will probably attend to it here eventually. It's just probably going to be after Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, and a couple others. Really, I think it's going to be the last one I see. But that's just me being completely honest. And yes, Shiva is a Hindu god of destruction. So, boom, bada bang, baby. We're learning stuff every day here on the podcast. And if you did know, good for you. You're freaking cool or something. So Shiva was figured out from the Hindu god of destruction. That's pretty cool. The impression I've gotten, you two are the founding members of this project, correct? Or was it like a collective founding per se? From
I'd say
from oversendis. Oh, collective.
Well,
okay.
It was kind of more like just a project to begin with, like sort of me just writing stuff, and then I ended up getting Dylan in, who's the drummer, And he was literally just putting like videos of himself drumming, and I like commented on one of his things one day, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds fucking sick, bro! Like, what's going on?" And then I started messaging him, and then bang, and so we got him, then Brent, and then we released that album. So it was I'd say collective, because before us three were in it, it was just like a fuck around.
Right.
Really,
It was somewhere to like really throw your creative efforts and stuff instead of trying to like concrete yourself to a genre. Yeah, awesome. And Ascendance, like, is anything from Ascendance like still up on streaming platforms like Spotify and shit? Okay, sweet. So as we, continue to trek into part 2 of episode 44 of the Anatomy podcast, I briefly wanted to inquire on you guys' debut album, because I remember when Planet Eater came out, because this was by this time I had already been familiar with Reality Fade Records. There were a couple bands and projects I was like trying to get on the podcast back then too, that happened to be through Reality Fade Records. So like, I don't know, man. Like, how was the process like signing to a label or an associate like Reality Fade Records?
It was through we were working with another merch company called Chinchak. And it was through them. They had connections with Reality Fade, and then after talking with them and everything, he decided, the guy from Reality Fade, offered us to do the CDs, do the merch, and all that. And we were like for us that was amazing, because we sort of didn't really hunt for it. It just sort of came to us. So I think we're really lucky that sort of fell into our lap. So shout out to the Reality Fade guys. We fucking love you. Thanks so much.
Shout out, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess for the folks like me, because I absolutely thought that Reality Fade Records was a record label. Is it like, do you guys just do your merch distribution through them and all that?
Yeah, so they do upload stuff, our songs and stuff to their Bandcamp, and then they send our records out to for people to review it and all that. So it's a little bit more than just the merch. They kind of help bands in other ways as well, which is good.
Good, badass. And I mean, I know that they are based in Ukraine, which is also really cool. And I really do hope that the team behind Reality Fade Records at this time is still doing well after, well, we all know the ultimate shit show and just like bully scenario, unfortunately. So shout out to them. I hope you guys are doing okay. And thank you for endorsing and helping projects like Shiva. I'm not sure if they're still a thing anymore, but it was Vile Impregnation. That was one of the projects I was following. And then, I mean, shit, they have so many other artists on there that they help out with merch distribution and, supporting their music, hosting them on their Bandcamp, all that fun stuff. So I wanted to go ahead and briefly kind of look over you guys' debut album, 12 songs, that being Planet Eater. And we don't have to do like a front to back lyrical analysis session, because more or less this session will be for your newer record. And I don't know why I'm spacing this off, that being Misanthropist. There we go. Jesus. So I was actually looking to inquire a little bit about, like, briefly the creative process behind that record, so that people might have some insight on everything that happened for Planet Eater.
Well, to start with, Dylan the drummer writes 90% of the lyrics.
Oh shit, okay.
Yeah, because he's creative, and I think the way that he words sentences and words songs and everything is like really, really good. I just can't, like, when I write something, I look at it, I'm like, and then Dylan will like reword the whole thing, and it'll be this amazing masterpiece. And I'm like, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? So he's very brilliant minded. But yeah, mostly like a lot of our stuff that we write about is aimed towards sort of how the modern day society is like pretty shit. How people are going through mental health problems, and like all some pretty serious stuff about how like there's a rise with suicides and all that, and it's due to like the modern society. How the government just like controls the population and has all these fucked up things they do to control the population and just keep a hold on everybody, using their tools like the money, which doesn't really exist, and stuff like that. So mostly everything that we talk about is all aimed at somehow to do with that shit.
Badass. Yeah, just like bringing, if it's like if people aren't getting enough of that from like all the other bands around the world, because like that's kind of like what deathcore, slam, death metal, that's kind of what it's always been, you know what I mean? Like that's something we can all agree upon, is it's like it's the sense of awareness and just being, well, misanthropic as possible, and therefore a pretty good title for the next album if it kind of continues that lyrical theme, you know. It's all about just making sure that everybody is aware that the people at the top are not here to be our friends. We are cattle to them, you know what I mean? And that shit, it's unfortunate, really, and I wish that wasn't the circumstance, that we were just like, they don't even care, they really don't.
But like, look at Australia when COVID hit, man. We were like in prison. We couldn't even like leave our houses. We couldn't go outside of our like towns where you live, you know what I mean? Everywhere you go, you have to do a COVID test. Like, I had to go to work and line up and have like nurses at the front of my work shoving stuff up everybody's noses before we could even go in the factory. And like, it was insane, man, the shit that we went through when that happened.
Badass. Yeah. And I mean, that definitely a different time. Definitely a different time. Everybody, like all the countries around the world, man, they're different. Like, there was like slight differences with all the countries and their response to it, but I mean, for what it's worth, I'm glad that they decided to take the precautions and take the actions that they did to prevent more casualties, more deaths, because I mean, it sucks when a whole bunch of people around the world just start abruptly dying because, well, one person like just didn't really care, and he or she, whoever, they decided to travel from one certain country to the next, and then they gave it to someone else, and it just spread like wildfire. It was a difficult time. If anything, too, speaking on the pandemic and stuff, I mean, it's 2023. It's been 3 years, more or less, since all that happened, all that occurred. Did you guys end up kind of seeing a limelight with that, and were you guys able to operate more efficiently as a band project, or did that kind of end up stumbling you guys a little bit?
Probably helped more than anything,
right?
We because at this stage we all live fairly far apart, so it sort of opened up more time to be able to jump on Zoom calls and work things out over like online and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's always good. All right, so we briefly talked about Planet Eater. Now we kind of skip frontwards in time a little bit more with you guys' 2022 album, with an interesting album cover. Everything about it's interesting. Everything about it's heavy. I mean, after all, I checked it out on the channel and I absolutely loved it. It just took me way too fucking long to get to the album, dude. Like, Jesus. But this is Misanthropist. Would you gentlemen be willing to do a track-by-track lyrical summary session for this album?
Yeah.
Sweet. So, everybody, welcome to the Under the Skin segment or something. I haven't figured out a transition. This is their most relevant, most recent full-length record, now out in... Wait. Who's Narco? Oh, okay. That's probably something important to ask. Who or what is Narcotics?
So it's just like something that we've sort of come up with. I think because in the band, each member can do like certain things, which I think is pretty cool. Like Dylan's really good at making videos, and like logos and stuff. Brent's really good at like mixing and editing and all that computer stuff like that. I don't really know what my special ability is, but
you're figuring it out. It's okay.
He's band modest.
But yeah, so I think what we can all do all this stuff. So we'll start like this little thing to I don't know, to make like if something comes of it.
Yes.
And something comes of it kind of thing. And we're just like, we can all do this thing. So we're going to start this thing. And if people reach out to us and say, oh, look, will you make a video? I know that Dylan's made lyric videos for other bands and stuff like that. And that was through Narcotics page as well. So like, nothing's really come of it yet. Dylan's done some videos, but yeah, if something comes up, and people need help, like we're happy to help out and stuff like that.
Badass. So more or less, Narcotics, that would be like you guys's just like service company, right? And this is like how you distribute your music, and this is also it's meant to be something for other people to utilize for editing and just like everything you might need for things relevant to music and just getting it out there. Okay, cool. So that in that case, this album, Misanthropist, out through Narcotics, their own personal like collective company that happens to not be Shiva as a brand. This album was absolutely incredible, and let's go ahead and dig into the I would say the back of the book summary. So what would be like a good, like, imagine this is a book, right? This album is a book. You go into a library, you're like, ooh, this is a pretty symmetrical cover, and it's got like this interesting logo on it with what looks like a trident going through the middle. This is interesting. What's going on? So like if you would turn the book over and see the summary, see the brief description on the back to entice you to open up the book, start sifting through the pages, what would be the text for that summary?
I suppose like maybe a deep dive into the sort of pain that the modern society feels, and that, you know, if you want to relate to issues you're having with, you know, struggling with money or struggling with gun control with the government and stuff, you can relate to this album a bit. I don't know, Brent, can you word that better?
Not really.
No, I think you nailed it pretty well. I mean, we did mention before that, and you'd mentioned before that with the discography that Shiva has presented so far, it is indeed just bringing awareness to the faulty, the flawed human condition. So with this being the sequel, the honorary successor, right, to Planet Eater, what kind of why the name Misanthropist? That's something I would want to ask.
So basically, like, misanthropist is that sort of you hate yourself in a way. So it's basically like the way that I sort of see it is, I hate sort of what humans have become in a way. Like you know, obviously there's good and bad in everything, but like an overall thing of like what humans are evolving into, sort of, like,
or devolving into.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Is it going? I don't know which way it's going.
Right. Fair enough, man. It's always a day-to-day just attempted analyzation. So I completely understand that. So we kickstart the album with track number 1, The Root of All Evil, which is also a pretty sick Spite song, but also this session's for Shiva. So what is this song about?
Basically that's just got a snippet of one of the American presidents talking about how the evil in the world isn't gangs and, you know, bad crime lords and stuff like that. It's actually like the white collar people up top making the decisions. Like that's the real evil of the world. So that's sort of what kicks off the album, like puts the limelight on, you know, them in a way.
Okay. And that's actually pretty interesting. I didn't like really figure that out, and I'm surprised because you said a US president, right? Or which do you know do you remember which one it was?
I could probably find it for I can probably find out. I'll have a look.
Let's see. I mean, I can probably play it too and just be that's
this
Hoover.
Guy. Yeah, this guy here. Ronald Reagan, I think.
Reagan. That's definitely a Reagan thing to say. So I must have recognized that off of memory, because I'm like, is that Reagan? But that's pretty cool. That's a great way to start the record. I like that. That's actually really cool. Okay, so track 2, we have God Complex featuring Left to Suffer and Infested Entrails. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Have you heard of that band before?
No, not Infested Entrails, not yet.
Sick band, bro. So that's the singer of that band is actually the singer of our old band Ascendants.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Small world.
Small world, indeed. We like it though. We like it. We like it when the Earth is as small as it is. If it was for Jupiter or Mars, we'd have an issue or something like that.
Yeah. And funny story about Infested Entrails. What happened was we actually had a vocal competition ages ago. This is where the idea came up for the Chelsea Grin one. But we had a vocal competition ages ago, and James, the vocalist of that band, ended up winning it. And we just didn't sort of release the song for a really long time. So he was on there because of that winning.
Awesome. No, that's really cool, and I love that you guys have done that more than once with your music, because that allows for a sense of community. It kind of concretes that sense of camaraderie that you guys hold so precious when it comes to this band. And I mean, that's what you should do with the band anyways. Like, if you don't like the people you're working with, what the fuck are you doing?
100%.
So what lyrically is going on with God Complex?
So that's sort of kicks off with like the manipulation of the population. That's, you know, the overall meaning behind that song. I think it's, if you wanted to get like real down and dirty into like the real dark, deep depths of what's behind it, Dylan would be your main man to sort of let you know what's going on there. He's currently at work though, which is shit because of the time differences and all that, so it's actually morning for us. But you know, it's about like there's no empathy, no empathy in the human population. Like, everyone's like suffering from ignorance and the control of the government and stuff like that.
Sick. Yeah. Okay, and then we have track 3, The Hunted. What's going on here?
So this one's about sort of like a little spin-off of the missing 411. So the people that go missing in the forest and stuff like that. It's just basically like a dig into that.
Okay, and I mean, the missing 411, is what's the story behind that? Because I've never heard of that before. That's interesting.
So there's it's one of the forests in America somewhere where heaps of people go missing all the time, and it's like heaps of people. Let me see if I can get some more details on it. Yeah.
I mean, I might have to too, being that I'm over here in the States. I'm like, what the fuck? What is this?
Sean's about to go missing. We wrote this song for you.
So the national parks in the United States have just like massive amount of missing people cases. And like the people think that there's actually more behind it than just people going missing. You know, like some people think it could be like UFO abductions. Some people think that there's like under cave systems where people are getting taken, and like, there's all this like huge unknown thing about it, and just people go missing. So
no, I'm seeing a poster or a cover right now for Missing 411, the UFO connection. I'm like, why the fuck haven't I heard about this? I've been doing conspiracy theory shit like the last 2 weeks. So I'm like, what the hell, dude?
2 weeks.
I really have, dude. I've been binging that stuff. Like, I think yesterday I checked out this video about the Washington zombie woman, which it was completely disproved. Everything's all good to go. But you watch the video and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then this channel explained it pretty well. So I'm like, oh, okay. So she was acting for political message reasons. Because it was like authentically terrifying. Like, if I saw this person running down the street, I would like check my hip, realize I don't have a gun, go buy a gun, and then it was fucking bad, dude. Like,
but so she was just acting.
Yeah, so she was absolutely just acting. It was like for some type of political propaganda, like, you can't cage me. That ended up being the disproving Instagram post. But like, dude, I'll tell you what, if I saw this person like walking down the street screaming the way she was doing, or holding what was like a tiny bag covered in blood, she had like half her head shaved off, she looked like a Fallout character. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And she's just screaming and wailing like a banshee at the top of her lungs. She's limping down the street with one shoe. It looks like she was fresh out of a car wreck. When seeing the video, it's like, I get why people just went nuts, but I digress. That story is for a separate session, ? But okay, so we got The Hunted, Misanthropist, then track 4, the title track. This kind of like, I would assume it reviews over the overlapping Shiva formula, really, lyrically speaking, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's like basically like honestly the same thing. Sort of the control of the population, getting like any resistance that comes against them just gets crushed, and then eventually evolving into like hating your own race, I suppose.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that is misanthropy. So fair enough, man. Track 5, we have Affliction. What's going on here?
This one's kind of more about mental health. So it's sort of more about like the way that society is. The sort of person, I'm not sure if it's a person or whoever this song's aimed at, it's like that person has like mental issues now, and they're like getting violent and like hurting people and stuff like that. So this song is more about like the effects of the society on someone.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. And then we have track 6, Oppressed.
Exactly what it says. It's just like the government like oppression. Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Sweet. And then track 7, Unalive, because I know this was a track that you guys ended up, at least I remember being sent a message myself on Instagram. It's like, we haven't named this song yet. What would you want the song to be called? I'm like, oh, okay. I don't think I ever actually like chose an option. Don't know why, but I was like, okay. So it ended up being Unalive. So obviously you guys were like kind of conflicted on the actual track naming of the song. So before it was Unalive, like what was there like a complicated lyrical process with this? Like what's going on with this one?
Well, this one there was a couple of members that aren't in the band anymore, but this one we had some problems with because this song's actually about the way that society is now is the reason why more people are like committing suicide. So it's kind of like one of those taboo subjects, and I think it was challenging for us because like some of the members were like, oh, I think it's too much. But the original song name was Secrets to Suicide.
Okay.
So, and it's like the secrets are, this is why it's happening. And it's because of the society and the way that people, like, you know what I mean? So we had some issues naming that, and we didn't want it to hurt anybody, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It is like a pretty, you know what I mean? Like we're not out here to make people upset, but we do want to talk about some certain shit, you know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. I get that completely. And then track 8, we have The Nameless.
Yep. That's the Slipknot cover.
Right. Badass. Okay. I mean, simply said, The Nameless, man. Like, what an iconic track. So that was Shiva's Misanthropist. That was the end. That is the end of the Under the Skin session. So future me, good luck fucking finding that timestamp. But this has been episode 44 of the Anatomy podcast, Jesus, featuring Taylor, Humphries, and Brent of Shiva. Did you gentlemen have anything you wanted to go ahead and shout out, plug, whatever, before we go ahead and end the session?
Anything, Brent?
Not really. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
Been fun.
Sweet.
Yeah. I think definitely a couple of shout outs. Like first of all, anybody who listens to our music and dives deep into the lyrics and stuff like that, or if you're struggling and you want to message the band, reach out to us. We're pretty opening with messages. Like as you said before, we ask people to help us name songs. We like give little snippets away and all that stuff. So if you just want to flick us a message and just chat, go right ahead. And thank you all for listening to our music. Really appreciate that. Definitely want to shout out our producer Matthias at Nu-Metal Productions. He's an absolute genius, and he really helps us with our music and our ideas and everything like that. So shout out to you for providing the best mixes ever. And Reality Fade to supporting both of our album releases, doing the merch thing and doing the CDs and uploading to Bandcamp and stuff like that. That's really good. We really appreciate all that stuff.
Badass. Okay. And this has been, again, episode 44 of the Anatomy podcast featuring Shiva. Thank you guys for listening, and be sure to enjoy your night.